Hey, what's up, you guys? So today I just been in a place of just thinking about everything that's going on during this time, during this pandemic, and a lot of conversations that are taking place during this time. This pandemic has definitely illuminated a lot of light on things that were kept in the dark, things that most of us knew for quite some time, but have been hidden in the dark. And what was hidden in the dark, the things that we knew about, are now being brought into the light. And so we're having these conversations about, racism, police brutality, gun violence, um, sexism, greed, and all that stuff. And there's another conversation I feel that we all need to have, and that's concerning the health of the black church. And so, using my experience in particular, I started playing for a Baptist denomination in 2016. And how I got involved with that was through my uncle's recommendation. And what my uncle was a new reverend during that time. Um, and he called me and he told me that the pastor's son was injured. Um, so he wasn't able to play for for a couple months, and he asked me to fill in for him, and I did. I agreed and went there, started playing. They enjoyed what it was that I was doing, um, and so the first couple months were fine, but after a while, just I just started to notice some things concerning that ministry, and even though I was getting paid for what it was that I was doing, and and grateful for it. But at the same time, just being there, I just felt out of place because it was it was pretty much older people in the congregation. And so there was nobody there my age. And so during that time in 2016, I was 26 during that time, 26 years old. And so I felt a little out of place there because it was predominantly older people, and and they pretty much don't like loud or fast music, you know. And so I just been going through a difficult time. And so actually been playing for that ministry for 3.5 years. And during those 3.5 years, I just really felt, uncomfortable being there because of the, generation gap that I was in. And so it was tough. And coupled with the sermons that I was hearing during that time, the sermons were really catered to the older generation, you know, as opposed to my generation. And so I mentioned in the other video about the importance of, getting spiritually fed, you know, because for us, as far as our position is concerned, my position as minister of music and worship leader, you know, we pour out every Sunday. We pour out every week, and the question that we ask ourselves is, who is pouring into us? Who is speaking into our lives? Who is, giving us inspiration and encouragement to that will fuel our music even more and will, energize us to keep doing what it is that we're doing, you know? And so that was the thing, who was encouraging us. And so, being there, being at that ministry, you just feel, so out of place. You feel, there was nobody there in your age group that you could relate to, and so it was tough for me. And so there are a lot of things that I've observed, in that particular ministry, things that I felt were a problem, and needed to be discussed, and and changes really need to take place, to be put into play. And so this church in particular was pretty much, still in the 1960s kind of, way of doing things, and here in the 21st century, if you try to bring the 1960s in the 21st century, you know, it just it isn't going to work with this generation, because, for us, not only my generation, but the generations to come, we can't relate to that stuff. We just can't, And so if you keep on doing the same old rituals that you did in 1960, and try to bring them to the 21st century, it's not going to work with us, because, my generation and the generation, to come, is, you know, we are we are much more hungry. We're hungry, we're more driven, we're more creative and innovative in what it is that we do. And we want more. We want more. And so I'm talking about, a generation who is hungry for God, hungry to know more about God, you know hungry for his presence, hungry to know, how awesome he is, you know and so for churches that are still, stuck in the 1960s way of doing things, and these churches want to move forward, but they just it's hard for them to break free of those, rituals that they've been doing over the years, And so one of the rituals, that I find that, this church was doing, this church I was working for, Hopewell Baptist Church. And so, one of the things that they do, every first of the month, is read from the back of the hymn book about the church covenant. And they do that every first of the month. And 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 for me, I'm like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Because we are the church. We are the church covenant. So why should we read about the church covenant when we are the church? You know, we know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be good to ourselves and good to others. Love our neighbors as ourselves. Do unto others as others would do for us. And so that's the thing. And so we already know what the church covenant is because we are the church. And so we don't need to read about what it is that we're doing. We already know what to do because it's already, inculcated in us. It's already inside of us to actually, do it. And so we're all equipped, with what it is that God has placed inside of us over the years, from childhood, for me, I received the Lord Jesus Christ when I was 9 years old, got the Holy Ghost, and started speaking in tongues and everything, jumping, shouting, dancing, worshiping, and all that stuff. And there are a lot of things I've learned, over the years growing up in church. And one of the lessons that I learned that really did me a monumental favor was getting to know who God is for myself, having a personal relationship with God, you know, and that's what Christianity is about. It's about, having a relationship, with God, having a relationship with people, and, being kind and, and having, good moral values, living a good life, a good and happy life, and helping people, and, you know, being a light unto others, because, we are the salt of the earth, and so God has put us here to, impact and enrich lives, and to inspire people, and to, and, and to, you know, what what's the word? To lead people, to lead people, you know. to lead people to the light, and so that's the thing, that's what we're here to do, you know, and so with the condition of the black church in particular, you know most black churches today are very are, are, are very they're aware of the times, and they're with the times, but there are some black churches that are left behind, all because of religion, all because of these, practices and rituals that they've been doing over the years that they just can't break free of, and that's the thing about religion. Religion is basically, mental enslavement, mental slavery, to keep us, in bondage, mentally, you know. And so, and it also discourages, religion also discourages critical thinking and individuality, and so it pretty much arrests you from being an individual, from, learning about life for yourself, learning about God for ourselves, you know. And so it pretty much, religion pretty much arrests us from, from being, from being who we are, being ourselves, being individuals, and, and developing our own opinion, forming our own opinion, you know. And so all the reason why religion has to die, we can do without religion, you know. And so often, people confuse the two. People confuse, sometimes people confuse religion and Christianity, as being the same, but they're not the same. As I said before, religion is pretty much, mental enslavement, you know, created by man, to keep us in bondage, Whereas with Christianity, it allows you to get to know who Jesus is for ourselves and to be able to form our own opinions, and to be critical thinkers and to be, our own person, our own, individual, you know? And so that's the beauty of Christianity. And so that's the thing, And also, as I said before, Christianity is also about being good to ourselves and being good to others, and and that's the thing, And so there are things that we can definitely do without, in the black church culture. And that's religion. Religion is one of them, you know. And so there are things that I really feel need to change, because there are some black churches, that are still stuck in the 1960s. And you may know some of these churches, living in a city or living in the suburbs or living in rural areas. These kind of churches are still around, you know, and there are things that really, need to change. Because for me, when I go into a sanctuary, I don't want to feel like I'm in 1960, because this this church I was working with at the time, there are times where I felt like I literally just climbed into the time machine and traveled back to 1960, and it felt so uncomfortable, you know. And so for me, when I go into any church, I want to be in in an atmosphere where, you know, I want to be in an atmosphere when I do enter into the house of God where people are so focused on, moving forward in the future because we don't know what the future holds. All we got to do is just, be hopeful and just trust God that, the future will be a positive one, and just play our cards right, and do what it is that we do and, just hope for the best, And so that's the thing, we don't know the future. We might be afraid of the future, but the only way to find out what the future is going to be like is just moving forward, just walking into it, and just hoping for the best, hoping for a positive outcome. That's all we have to do, And so there's no point in being afraid, there's no point in trying to hide. There's no point in trying to, hide in your own safety bubble, when it comes to, the future. And so we don't know what the future holds. All we gotta do is just walk into it and just hope for the best. That's all we have to do, you know? And so, and in walking into the future, there are things that we have to, be willing to change, And so And so one of the things is, for me, this church, going back to this church I was talking about, Hopewell, um, going back to that particular ministry in particular, I remember the times where they were fellowship with other ministries, and those other ministries were pretty much, male dominated. And so, and not too often do they fellowship with other ministries because, the only ministries that they fellowship with are, male dominated ministries. And I guess to them, it's hard for them to find ministries that are male dominated, ministries that think like them, talk like them, and things like that, you know, and that made me uncomfortable because, because for me, even before I joined, even before I started working for that church, I was part of a apostolic ministry. And so my former church was an apostolic ministry where we pretty much fellowship with everybody, both male and female pastors, working together side by side in ministry and seeing men and women sitting in the pulpit, male and female ministers, male and female elders, male and female, evangelists as well, And so I've seen them sitting together, and I'm like, wow, we are really coming full circle. We are really coming full circle. Whereas, whereas this particular, ministry, this Baptist ministry that only fellowships with other male, dominated churches, they're still stuck. They're still stuck in 1960. And things really need to change, And so for male pastors, male reverends who are, intimidated by female pastors, my prayer is that any fears that they feel towards female pastors would diminish completely, And so we're supposed to be in this thing together because in Christ there is no male or female. God chooses who he wants to use. And so whoever God chooses, the least we can do is just be happy for them and support them and encourage them and be willing to work with them together, because we are in this thing together. You know, Kevin Bond said it best. It's not I or it's both you know. And so we're in this thing together, And so we're a team, and there is no I in team, And so you have to be willing to work together. You have to be willing to share the responsibility, you know. And so those are the things that I feel really need to change, And so we can do without religion, you know, and we need more gender equality, of course. And we also need to, embrace the young, embrace the millennials, embrace people in my generation, embrace the millennials, because we want to make a contribution, you know, we want to make a contribution, and you need to let us be who we are, you know. What we do might seem a little strange to you, but the things that we do, it's all part and purpose of giving God the glory. That's all we want to do is glorify God. We just want to please God, with what it is that he has equipped us to do, what it is that he has, put inside of us, We want to make our contribution, you know. And so that's the thing, Those are the things I feel that we really, need to change. If we're going to move forward, if you want to see results in your church, then you got to be willing to embrace the new. You got to be willing to embrace the new because, again, this is all for building, this is all for the generations to come, and so we got to be willing to, to share the responsibilities, to be able to, to share the job of, and work together, in promoting this gospel, and so I hope you guys got something out of this. This is something that was inside of me for quite some time. I know it's a lot, but, but hopefully you guys can be able to, piece all that together. And so this is what I was feeling. And so may God bless you. May God keep you. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. And I pray that these videos have been a blessing to you. And I'm super excited to share much more with you guys. And so you guys take care. Be safe. Peace.